You are about to learn how a 15-year-old taught me the key to all communication. Listen and learn how you can improve any relationship at any time. Welcome to the No Bow Tie Show. I'm John No Bow Tie Svoboda, author, musician, and mindset mentor. Get ready to discover your unique edge, tools to conquer doubt, and the power to live with limitless joy. The relationship with Alan was just fine up to a point. Something really odd happened. He's a 15-year-old and he was seeking life coaching at a young age because he excels in momentum of imagination and plans for the future. I'm a mindset mentor, so I wanted to give him that service. And for week after week, we did just fine. The communication was flowing. His imagination was growing. We were getting plans together, sections, and then all of a sudden things just changed. He walked into my studio and his whole demeanor went flat. It just went dark. I tried to find out what was going on, but he was closed to it. It got to the point where he was ignoring me. I would be talking to him and he would turn his back to me. He would look around the room, purposely ignoring me. I started to wonder if he had a chip on his shoulder about me or something happened in his day. The more that I asked what the problem was, the more resistance I got to the relationship. Do you ever find that in a relationship that you're having where when you try to address it the way that you think is right, you build up a resistance and the other person just pulls back and it actually causes more problems than it solves. And you think you're trying to help, but from their point of view, you're not helping at all. You're only hurting, and you don't know why. So I sat back, and I continued to just kind of probe toward why we were there. Instead of really getting in his personal space and having him become vulnerable when he didn't want to. I just kept asking questions about, the future, trying to get the momentum back as we once had it. And he was just ignoring me to the point of being rude. And I thought it was going to be a time when I'd actually call his parents, the folks who were hiring me to coach him, and tell them that, hey, the relationship has gone bad. And in my perception, the reason that it's gone bad is he is being resistant to me. I'm doing everything I can. And again, have you done this in a relationship where you think you're doing everything you can to give to the relationship to make it better? And it only comes back as resistance. And sometimes it can poison the relationship so much that there's no communication that you can build on. There's no communication that you can learn from. And that is not a good place to be. A relationship will not grow with that. They generally will be polluted and come to an end. Well, that session ended, and I realized I didn't look forward to seeing him again. I was almost having to fake my interest in it. But because of dedication and commitment to what I do, to my service, I really gave myself a talking to, and something clicked in my head. I wasn't considering from his point of view how I was being. I was not considering the tone of my voice, the facial expressions that I had, that he was receiving. I thought that I was monitoring them well, but I was doing it from my point of view. I was doing it from what I think is best to give him. And when I took a moment to actually put a mirror, a symbolic mirror, and kind of review the way that I was being assertive because I didn't want to waste the time that we had there. I was being right because I'm the adult and they're hiring me to be effective. So I had to be right. And have you ever done that in a relationship? Let's chalk this up as strike 3 in a relationship where you know you're right, and you might be, but that's not what is most important to solving the communication flow between you. Then what is? When a relationship goes bad up to that point, you'll start to get a lot of control factors involved where both sides are trying to control the outcome. And I know if you're a human being, you have experienced this. Any disagreement is usually about who's the one in control here. He was being rude to me, and I thought on purpose. And so at the next session, I went ahead and committed to using some listening skills that I didn't think I was using at this point. I didn't want to because I knew I was right. And I knew that, I knew more about the subject than he did. I could lead. I could be a leader. Well, you're not a leader unless somebody follows. So in your relationship, you have to ask yourself, when you think you're leading toward a solution and the other person is resistant, you have failed. You are only a leader when the other person wants to follow. So then the thing that I did next broke all of that free. It broke the dam free and started to get some true communication to flow. The main thing that I did, the number one thing, I started listening. Not as a skill, not as a technique where I sat and said, okay, one of the most important skills I could do is to act like I'm listening. And we've all done this, where you quit talking and you think you're listening, but really you're just letting them talk. Are you really listening? Are you listening to how they're saying it, their facial expressions, the feelings that they're communicating? Are you really feeling where they're at with the situation? Well, with Alan, it all broke loose when he kind of grunted. He kind of grunted, well, it looks like I'm starting school tomorrow. Just kind of like that, kind of that mumbled speech. And a light bulb went on in my head. I went, oh. I said to him, that sounds like a lot of pressure. And he sat back, took a big breath and sighed. And he said, no. He said, the people at school, they don't understand me. I said, tell me more. He said, the teachers, they all think I've got to learn like other people have to learn. And I'll leave out the details, but with Alan, I also learned at this point that he suffers from a lot of the symptoms that we label as ADHD. So he's got these symptoms at school, and it doesn't mean that he can't learn. It means he learns differently. So he went on to tell me, he described it perfectly. He said, they don't know that I learn differently. If I'm not paying attention the way that they want me to pay attention, they think that I'm ignoring them. And I'm thinking, oh, like in here? But I also thought, oh, cut it out. Keep listening. So I said to him, go on, tell me more. He said, even my friends, sometimes when my behavior gets erratic and I'm just being myself, they want me to be like them. And I feel like they don't accept me. I feel like if I'm not joining in the stuff that they think is funny, that I'm cast out instead of just being myself. Again, I said, Alan, go on. Tell me more. This is interesting. And then he went on to just a gush of all of these different ways that he has to pay attention to have strength. And what he finally was describing to me was that he is unique and that he is respecting it in a group situation. Don't hesitate to support this kind of communication in your life and in the world by going to patreon.nobowtie and just giving a small donation each month to help get this in the world. It's the only way that we receive funding and support, and we will give it back to you in quality service and messages and inspirational videos like this one. So let's get back and see how this 15-year-old taught me all about my communication. And I started to come over to his side and see how he was not only seeing life, but how he was seeing the conversation with me. And it was then that I knew that listening really does mean to interact. It doesn't mean to take over the conversation and prove that I've heard you, but it does mean to give some feedback, to let the other person know that what they've said and what they've felt has reached another human being. This is one of the most important aspects of having a relationship, that the other person feels like that they've been fulfilled and understood. And we can do that by really having a heart and trying to go over to their side and take the time and energy. In today's world, there's so much management as the subject that we fake our listening. And we think that because we can spit back information that we just heard, that we have listened. No, we really haven't listened. We've paid attention. But when you are listening and you make that other person feel heard, that is when you have come over to their side and given them the psychological air that they need to breathe emotionally and to get their space to be themselves. Well, you can only guess what happened next. Alan went on, and finally, when he quit talking, and boy, he had a wave of energy going on. He must have talked for 25 or 30 minutes, just filling the room with all of his emotions and frustrations and everything that he could get off his chest. And I could tell that he found an outlet for that with me. The relationship had already improved because he was with somebody that cared. Instead of trying to solve it and fix it, I simply said to him, "It sounds really frustrating what you're facing tomorrow." I said, I don't know anybody who would want that, especially when you feel misunderstood in a learning situation, in a situation where you're expected. And I just shook my head and said, "Alan, I hope you handle it well tomorrow." I said, "But let me ask you a more important question, one that affects you and I. When we're in here, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can change to help you learn about why we're here? What to help you leave with better information and better tools? What are the things that I could change to help you?" And he sat back and he sighed and he said, he said, "It's all okay. I just needed to feel heard." And when he said that, I had tears well up in my eyes. I realized that's what we all need. If you're in a relationship and it's not working, ask yourself, does the other person feel heard? Do they feel like they're reaching somebody who cares? Or do you just listen? It's not the same thing. And how do you know it? When it happens to you. And if you're not getting that in the relationship, do not blame it on the other person. You have got to give it first. You've got to create that playing ground, the platform. Exercise it yourself. Really make the other person feel heard. Don't just repeat what they said, and don't try to prove that you've heard the information they spit out. Really go over and feel either their pain, their excitement, their anguish, their frustration. Help them process through that. And if it pertains, let's say the other person is frustrated with the relationship, let them spill their guts. Don't be offended. Let them finish. One of the things that you can do is to say, "Tell me more," and say it in a variety of ways that you really want to hear more. Because if you don't, they detect it. If you want that relationship to work, you have to be sincere in your intent to understand where that other person is coming from. And when you do, it will be magic. When the other person feels heard, they will relax, and then they will give you the chance. And it may not be right then and there, but they're going to give you the chance to feel heard. And that's when you're going to experience and know how valuable that is to any relationship. If you have a relationship with your boss, your neighbor, your child, and of course your spouse or a partner, just go there. You're going to feed that relationship the peace of mind and golden heart that it mostly needs. Now, before I go and leave you with the No Bow Tie musical feature, I'm going to give you two exercises. One is, as soon as you think that somebody else's behavior sucks, replace that with asking yourself, why are they being this way? When you do not fill in the blank and say, "Oh, I know why. I know why. I know this person better than they know themselves. I've seen this before." Don't go there. That is not empathy. Ask yourself, why are they being this way? With Alan, you saw that he just had a world of tension because of expectation. With your wife or your husband, your neighbor, your boss, your coworker, take the time and just ask that question, why are they being this way? The other exercise is that as soon as you see that somebody else's behavior is the problem, ask yourself what is needed, not what in the heck is wrong with them or where this is headed or why do I have to endure this again. Ask yourself what is needed. And often your conscience will fill in the blank and you'll find yourself being more supportive of the relationship between the two of you instead of that feeling of tolerance or the feeling of abrasion. It's going to help your life turn into a wellspring, a blossoming of goodness that'll lead you into your next challenges, but now you'll be skilled with the tools, you'll know how to use them, and you're going to step forward and you are going to feel heard. Now take a moment and enjoy some musical blasphemy from yours truly, No Bow Tie, another classical piece, Gone Mad.